Hello everyone, my name is Neil, and welcome to Scientifically Speaking, a show where a variety of science topics will be discussed. You can find topics ranging from biology to psychology and even more. All that I ask for you to do is come into the episodes with an open mind. With all that being said, let's get started. In today's episode, we will be exploring a topic that seems to be a very prevalent issue in America, and one that seems to hit close to home here in Pennsylvania: addiction. According to the Center for Disease Control, drug overdoses seem to double in just a decade. It's so bad that it's been considered a national epidemic. Everyone has their own idea on what addiction is, from the it's a choice or it's a disease debate, but let's look at what it truly is. Addiction, as defined by the American Psychological Association, is a chronic disorder with biological, psychological, social, and environmental factors influencing its development and maintenance. If you look over at the chart on the screen here, you can see what addiction does to the brain. Brain changes including alterations in the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. In these areas of the brain, with chronic drug abuse, the rewiring of neurons occurs. When this happens, an individual's reward, motivation, memory, impulse, control, and judgment are affected. This can lead to dramatic increases in cravings for a drug or activity, as well as impairments in the ability to successfully regulate these actions, despite the knowledge and experience of many consequences related to the behavior. In a simplified sense, it all comes down to two specific neurotransmitters in the brain: serotonin, which regulates mood and social behavior, appetite and digestion, sleep and memory, as well as dopamine, which plays a major role in the motivational component of reward-motivated behavior. Though we have the definition of addiction, how can we prevent it? Do we talk about it in schools? Do we plaster ads like we did starting with Reagan? Do we continue with the drug war? How about psychologist Dr. Bruce Alexander's Rat Park study? Is it the environment? Well, we currently treat opioid addiction with methadone and other related narcotics. Part of the recovery process normally has a behavioral therapy with a counselor, but according to Dr. Jennifer Potter, she thinks that, quote, the jury's still out on that. According to a research article that appeared in the American Medical Association's journal, which is peer-reviewed in 2011, a randomized clinical study of 653 outpatients dependent on prescription opioids, she and her colleagues found that individual drug counseling offered no additional benefit over and above the standard buprenorphine treatment. Unlike Dr. Potter, other people would say otherwise about behavioral therapy. Dr. Nancy M. Petrie is a psychologist who advocates for what's known as contingency management, a behavioral approach that uses incentives to encourage patients to stay drug-free. Patients who achieve and maintain sobriety can earn the chance to win monetary-based prizes when they achieve and maintain abstinence. According to a research article in the peer-reviewed Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology in 2014, Petrie has found that lower-cost prices work just as well as some higher-cost alternatives when it comes to motivating sobriety. In one study, for example, Petrie and her colleagues found that $300 prizes worked just as well as $900 in incentives when it came to reducing cocaine use in methadone patients. The only downside of this is the amount of expenses that this type of technique costs. Which way is right? Do we stick with just methadone? Do we go the route of contingency management? Well, both psychologists agree that it's kind of silly to ditch either, especially only relying on contingency management. The addictive nature of the opioid is so profound, it is very difficult to kick it without opioid replacement therapy. Addiction really is complicated, clearly, but if you know someone who is struggling with addiction, here are some things you can do. Remember that addiction is not a choice or a moral failing. It is a disease of the brain. Set boundaries and stand by them. Set an example for healthy living. Encourage the individual to seek help. This may include finding treatment resources for them. Be supportive and optimistic. Well, thank you all so much for watching the episode of Scientifically Speaking. I'm Neil, and I'll see you in the next episode.